Welcome if you're new, welcome if you're not, welcome if this is the first or the 40th time my podcast has graced your ears. My name is Shannon and welcome back to another episode of Try Not to Need Me. You'll notice quite a few things going on, and the fact that it's been a hot ass minute since I did one of these. One of those things that changed is that I got a cat. I'm waiting for her to make an appearance. She's around. Here she is. Hi, darling. This is Gucci. Gucci is 11 months old, and I rescued her probably a month and a half ago now. She is so very cute and so very sweet and is definitely getting me through this very trying time here in New South Wales. But she's probably also not super conducive to recording a podcast and that sound being with a lack of distraction. So if you hear her meowing or you hear her bell, you know why, but she will probably reappear very soon and settle somewhere in this nest of little blankets I have going on here. You might also notice that this is not my mum's house. This is not the apartment I used to live in. This is a new apartment. So I also moved back in end of April. So the last episode that I actually released, which was only on YouTube, was with Sayed, and that was kind of to like celebrate our last hurrah of living together. He moved back home with his family and I moved to a new suburb, and I am now living by myself, completely alone, completely by myself. Obviously now I have a cat to keep me company, but prior to that was completely alone. And obviously we're now in that ugly L word of lockdown, which I really, really don't want to talk too much about in this episode, but a few people, I just reached out on my close friend's story to see if people had things that they wanted me to talk about on the podcast episode. And I said non-lockdown. A few of them have still sent me lockdown related questions / topics. So I'll probably touch on them, but I don't want to focus too much on it. I'm really trying to like radiate positivity and light the end of the tunnel of like life, and that, you know, it's gonna get back to normal sooner rather than later, I hope. Anywho, so those are my major life updates. My hair is slightly darker than it probably would have been, but I don't remember. No, it was definitely dark in my last episode, so disregard that. I'm also wearing my One Love Manchester jumper, which I feel like I've worn now in an episode in every house, so I'm just keeping the tradition alive, you know. Hi. Gucci's just made an appearance. She was really unhappy with the microphone. She didn't know what it was, what its story was, what the go was with it. So she's probably just going to chill here and hang out and sleep here while I record this episode. Or sniff things or destroy them, because she's pretty good at that as well. Are you going to chill? All right, cool. She's chill. She's settled. She's just sitting here. I mean, besides that, it's now September of 2021, which is kind of mad. I don't really know where this year has gone, but then at the same time, I feel like I've just not like lived a lot of life this year for obvious reasons. So it's kind of crazy to think that. I guess another major life update, I started a new job. So I was at my old job for like 3 and a bit years, and I loved that job and I loved the people that I worked with, and I'm still quite close to a fair amount of them, and I try and keep in contact with them as much as possible, but it was just time. It was time for something new. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew that when I started Fiverbox with Sayed, there was a part of that really started to pique my interest, which was very much the e-commerce side of it, and managing an online business and making that tick and making it work and learning how all of that goes down. I'm just going to take her bell off just for this episode, which she's probably going to be quite happy about, just so she can bathe in peace, but also without distracting everybody. And now she's chewing the wires. I didn't think this through. Anywho, so I got a job as an e-commerce coordinator at an Australian designer brand. If you look me up on LinkedIn, it'll be there. I just don't know how appropriate it is to like shout that out on a public forum. Anyway, working for an Australian designer in the e-commerce team is a massive learning curve and has been a very stressful, very trying time. And I was probably working in the office for like 6 weeks, and then we went to working remotely with the lockdowns and everything like that. So I've kind of spent like half the time working in an office, half the time working remotely, which if it had been any shorter period of time working in the office, I honestly don't know how I would have coped, because there are so many nuances and systems and processes and like places to do things and upload things and make things work that I just like, it took me, I'm still learning my way around a lot of things. You know, I don't know everything 3 months in, but I definitely know way more than I did, which is great, because there were some really, really hard days starting off in a new place. And I think, you know, being challenged in new ways that I had not been challenged in so long. Once you're at a job for so long, you get really comfortable in what you know, and you almost stop challenging yourself and being challenged and feeling challenged and looking for new things to be doing and all of that kind of stuff. So that's very much where I'd gotten to, and it was just time for something new and to learn something new. So I've taken on this new challenge, which I'm really enjoying, but it's definitely challenging, which is not a bad thing. You know, I like to be challenged. I like to learn new things. I like to constantly grow and evolve and develop. So it's definitely ticking those boxes for me. But yeah, that they're kind of the life updates of what's been going on. That's pretty much it. Fiberbox has been doing really well. I actually had someone use the podcast discount code the other day, which made me really happy. So again, if you are interested in alcohol and cocktail gift boxes, we just launched a red wine box, a white wine box, and a beer box. And we are launching 2 more products this week. No, we're launching one this week and one next week. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But if you do want to get something, you can get $5 off your first order with the code FOBPOD5, which will be in the description of this episode. But it's been going really well, because obviously lockdown, and it's a super easy gift to send to people when you can't see them and you can't drop things over to their house. So we've been super busy, which is really keeping me busy. Busy has been an awful word that I've always hated to use, but I just have no other way to describe the current state of my existence. Is just like me even having the time to sit down and record this podcast feels like such a luxury as of recent. But I guess finding balance is so important, and that's something that I'm constantly challenging myself to be better at. I've never been one to, I feel like in a relative sense, I'm pretty good at finding balance. Like I've always been able to maintain friendships and a career and, you know, a healthy social life, and I guess not like overrun one without the other, and like be close with my family and like keep up with whatever. Like I feel like in theory I can balance things, but then I also get quite fixated on things quite quickly, and at the moment it's just been like work and business. And so like Sayed and I have both been like burning the candle at both ends, working our day jobs and then logging on to do Fiverbox stuff at the end of the day, and working from like 5 till 10 or 11 at night, sometimes later depending on what we're doing, which is great because you have to hustle and you have to grind, but it's definitely really challenging. We've been doing lots of deliveries through Sydney Metro, so it's just, yeah, it's been a lot, but all good things, and I really wouldn't change it for anything. I just really want to check that this is recording. Yep, it is. I just have this fear that it's not recording. Anyway, so all of that being said, I do hope that everybody is doing well as they can with, whatever situation they're in, whatever state they're in, whatever your life looks like currently, if you're in Australia, if you're in a different country. So I just wanted to like rattle off a few things that friends asked me to chat about. I'll start with the lockdown things first because let's get it out of the way. The first was self-care and well-being, either in lockdown or not in lockdown. And I guess what I was just talking about kind of ties into this, but self-care has been something that I have like this very arduous relationship with. It can be really good or it can be really bad. And I think at the moment it's kind of a fine line. Today I would definitely call a self-care day. I did a lot of things today that like I knew would make me feel better. So I folded a bunch of Fiverbox boxes so that every time we get orders, I don't have to fold them. It's just like one less task I need to do as we get orders. So I folded a bunch of those, put all the stickers on them, got them all ready. I cut all of my meat and veggies for all of my meals this week. I didn't want to actually cook them because I don't mind, like I quite like to eat my food fresh. But I just find that I get so like lazy and I don't want to cut potatoes. I don't want to cut sweet potato. I don't want to grate carrot. I don't want to cut chicken, or I don't have time, or I have to go and do a delivery and then it feels too hard. So I just thought because I had time today, I wasn't really doing anything else. Today was Father's Day. My dad doesn't live in the state. I can't see my mum. So no celebrations on the cards for me today for Father's Day. So I decided to just like take the day to enjoy having free time really. And so yeah, I cut all of my veggies so they're all prepared for the week, which feels really good and really nice to know that I can just like bang things in the oven or fry them up or whatever I need to do to cook my meals this week. Feeling very organized. Did a load of washing, put it all away, feeling very organized. I washed my hair. I made my dinner and my lunch for tomorrow. And that was about it. Why do I feel like I did more things? I didn't. I watched Afterlife of the Party on Netflix, which I would actually recommend. It wasn't bad. I thought it was going to be really crappy. It's got Victoria Justice in it, who I like sometimes. And I just thought it was going to be like super cringe, like super just like not. I watched Hazel that the other day. I do not recommend anybody watch that unless you want to watch it ironically. Awful movie. But the Afterlife of the Party I actually really enjoyed. It had a nice meaning, had me in my feels at the end. Actually genuinely enjoyed that movie. So would recommend if you're looking for something easy to watch on Netflix in the next, I don't know, whenever. I don't think that they'll take it off Netflix. I think it was a Netflix original. I don't know. My cat has a cut on her head. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, so I sort of have had a self-care day, which I suppose is all relative to what makes you feel your best. In terms of general self-care and well-being, I would really like to be in a better place with like my health and fitness, which I know is really difficult to do given the current circumstances and given how time poor I am as of current. I'd like to make sure that I'm walking every day. I'd like to make sure that I'm eating really good whole foods and not snacking on crap, and kind of get back to a place where I'm happy with how I feel and I'm getting happier with how I look, and I definitely haven't been there in a while. And I think obviously that's really hard and it's important not to be too hard on yourself, but at the same time I make a lot of excuses for that, and I feel like I use the current climate and situation as like one big fat overarching excuse to like not be my best self. But again, I'm trying to like not be too hard on myself, but then also not be like, oh well, like it's fine and I'll sort it out later, because like later feels too late. And then once you can actually go out and live your lives, like I don't want to be like, oh well, I can't eat that because I'm trying to be healthy now, when the time to be healthy is probably now, when I'm not going out to eat with friends and I'm not enjoying the social aspect of food and drinking and what have you. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a balance to be found, and I'm not very good at finding that balance, but hoping to get there. But in terms of general self-care, like if I know that I need a day to not work or to sleep in or to just like sit and watch movies and not do Fiverbox stuff or whatever it is, I think I've realized when I have those days when I need them. I know how I feel. I feel so tired, lethargic, brain foggy, and I can appreciate that it's really important to have those days in order to actually continue existing as a fully functioning human. So yeah, I have honestly been waffling this entire episode. I don't think that this is going to be interesting. Anyway, the next one that kind of ties into is mental health during this time. And to be fair, I probably, when this all started unfolding, got really nervous because my mental health last year was not great. Through like September to January, I don't know, actually it was probably all the way to like April, probably like March, April, I was a mess. My mental health was so bad. And that term is relative. Obviously, mental health is completely subjective and relative to a person's mental health journey, and people's version of severe mental health or their mental health being really bad is all completely in relation to them and their experiences. And I've talked about this quite a lot on the podcast. I'm not someone who's suffered immensely with mental health or anxiety or depression or anything like that, but I've had points, particularly over like the last 5 years, I think, where I'll have waves of it getting quite bad, and I mean like bad for me, and I think at the time it's really hard to talk about, and I've always been so preachy to my friends of like, if you're having a hard time, if you're feeling down, you can always lean on me, even if you don't want advice, if you don't want me to suggest anything, if you just want to talk about it, then like I'm so happy to be that person. But I found while it was fresh, I found it really hard to talk about. My best friend was aware of how I was feeling, but mostly because I lived with him. And there was sort of this period of time where I just cried all the time. I just cried for weeks. And there, like every day I would just cry uncontrollably for like periods of time. And it wasn't necessarily brought on by anything. Like there were things going on, but it wasn't like one big event that like traumatized me and that I found that this was an outlet for it. It just kind of happened, and I don't know, it was like borderline debilitating in relation to like how I am as a person. And I think I took like 2 days off work. No, I took my mental health day because I needed it. But then there was also times when like I just was working, but I wasn't really working. But I definitely know that I should have probably taken some more time off work. And then over Christmas, I took time off because Christmas lead up for Fiverbox was so crazy. I needed a break, and so I took like 3 weeks off over Christmas and New Year, which was so needed. And I think my mental health has definitely gotten better since then. And so as you can imagine, being alone, completely alone, going into lockdown, working from home, I was so fearful that sort of cloud of not feeling myself was going to come back. I thought, I'm by myself. I don't have a buffer. I don't have a person to confide in. I'm back working from home. I can't see my family. There were so many things. I thought this was so much worse than the situation back in October where life was relatively free and open. And yet I've been, touch wood, okay. I feel like Gucci is my emotional support cat. And that has honestly made a huge difference. Like I feel very much like needed. I feel important in her life. I know that she adores me and I adore her. And it gives me someone to talk to. Like I do have full conversations with her. And I just know that like she's there, and that's so nice to have. And then I guess above and beyond that, I've been so time poor that I've not necessarily had the time to sit down and consider, I don't know, like life too much to get to a point where I feel quite down. There's definitely been days where I'm like so frustrated and annoyed and just ready for all of this to be over. But for the most part, I'm doing okay. And I know that that's not the case for everybody. And I know that that's a huge issue, particularly in really young people, and anyone at school and anyone doing the HSC. God, I feel for those people and they need to cancel it ASAP. But you have to do whatever feels right. If you need to take time off work, take time off work. If you need to find a healthy outlet, find a healthy outlet. If you need to engross yourself in work as a distraction, then do that, but also be aware of what's going on and kind of like center yourself and talk to yourself and go, I feel shitty today, but that's okay. I think you have to kind of allow yourself to feel how you feel and get through it like that. And there's a lot of like what ifs and unknowns, and I'm very much a person who likes to be in control all the time. So at the moment, not knowing when life will be normal, when can I travel, when can I do this, and we're starting to see when that may happen, but I still think that there's a lot of variables in play that mean that you can't always be in control of what's going on. So I think you just have to look after yourself in whatever way makes sense to you, in whatever way makes you feel better, and not kind of be too hard on, like, if eating good food and cooking nice meals for you and your partner or yourself or your family is something that makes you feel good, but then you go, oh, that's not the healthiest thing, sod that off, because honestly, your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And if there's something like that makes you feel good, then just do it, is what I would say. Anyway, moving right along, the next thing was cleaning things you've never cleaned before because you're bored. And I don't really have this. I am so bad at like upkeep of my apartment. I wouldn't say it's messy, I wouldn't say it's dirty, but it could be much cleaner. I'm pretty bad at vacuuming my floors. It's just like such a big task that I don't even know how to like take it on. And the idea of vacuuming my floors just like gives me anxiety because it feels like it's just too hard. If I had to vacuum one room, that's kind of like one thing, but vacuuming whole apartment, and like it's not a massive apartment, but it's still like a lounge room and 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and a kitchen, that it just feels like a hard task. And when the vacuum drum gets too full and it doesn't suction properly, and then you have to empty it mid-vacuum. And they just got an extension cord to make my life easier because I kept having to plug in and plug out my vacuum every time I went to a new room. So anyway, I could be a lot better in that. But I can't say that there's things that I'm cleaning that I've never cleaned before, to be perfectly honest with you. I like to keep my stock room quite tidy, but that's about it. Anyway, let's move on from lockdown chat and go into a few other things. One of them was, when did you realize life should be fun and you shouldn't take anything too seriously, and how to change your mindset? And I think this is something that comes with age and life experience and who you surround yourself with. And for quite a long time in like my adolescence and early adulthood, I was so wrapped up in what other people thought of me. Like my perception of myself was wrapped up in other people's perception of me. And if those two things didn't marry up, I was like constrained by this idea of who I needed to be, or who I needed to portray myself as, or, who I wanted to be, God forbid, that I just couldn't relax. And I don't know what changed that. I think a part of that was realizing that other people's lives go on regardless of what I do. And, you'd kind of act out, or you'd act in, or you'd act like someone else, or you'd do this, or you'd do that. You'd save face, or you wouldn't save face. Like I just got to a point where I realized my closest friends knew me for who I was in every sense of that word. Like they'd seen me at my ugliest, they'd seen me at my lowest, they'd seen me in all of my raw forms, they'd fought with me, they'd cried with me, they'd loved me regardless. And I realized that friendship love it sort of runs unconditional, and you get to a point of friendship where that you're not really gonna, like, nothing's really gonna break that in terms of who you are as a person. It'll be more about the actions that you take. And so I realized that the people I genuinely cared about knew who I was. And so I didn't need to change for them. So why did I feel like I needed to be someone I wasn't to attract people that I didn't really need in my life? So that's kind of like a big, oh, I thought she was going to bite me, but her ear just flicked. She's so cute. I'll give you a proper introduction when I end this and I have to get up. Yeah, I just think that was a big part of it, is realizing that I had enough friends around me that I was so content with like that group of people. And obviously your family love you for who you are. And I had like one, you know, kind of like ride or die best friend. Granted, I think all of my friends are ride or die at this point. But obviously like Sayed and I were super close, and he knew me for like the deepest, most awful parts of my life and the brightest, I guess. And I was like, well, if I have him and I have my family and I have these amazing other friends and I have a great career and, you know, a path and dreams and hopes, and I have travel, and like, if I have all of these things being who I am, then what makes me feel like I need to change that or be someone I'm not? So I think that was a big shift in mindset. And once you realize that you're actually happy with a lot of what you have, you can kind of move on to like working on the things that you want to attract and the things that you don't have and the things that you want out of life. And I think that that's a really important lesson to learn. And as well, like, life's so fucking short that if you take it too seriously and you think that everything is so like life or death and so serious and so important, you'll lose track of those fun little things that you could do, like flying to Queensland for a day to go to Movie World just because you can, or booking holidays that you might never go on just because it makes you feel better to have a holiday in your Qantas app. Like, there are things that I think don't have to be so important or don't have to be as serious as a lot of people make them out to be for you to just like be a happier version of yourself. And I just think that like once you realize that, like, not to say that I'm just like so carefree and I never worry about things and I'm never stressed, because I'm always stressed. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm pretty content with like knowing that I'm going to attract and I'm going to get what I want for the most part, because I'm not trying to change myself to make those things happen. If that makes any sense. I don't know if it does. I don't know. You know what? I don't know if any of these 28 minutes of bullshit make any sense. Me just like braless in a baggy oversized jumper on my couch with my cat and a blanket on a Sunday night in September. It's honestly just my brand at this point, really. I don't know what else to say on that point, so I'm just going to move on. Where to start when planning a holiday? I have a lovely built-in travel agent in my best friend. He loves to plan trips, and it's normally not really my thing, but I've worked out his like mindset of like how to kind of go about it, and we love a spreadsheet. We have so many spreadsheets of trips that have never happened, and trips that will happen, and trips that have happened, and I think that's a really good place to start. You basically go, well, I'm looking at these dates and I'm looking at these places, or you kind of start with the places and you go, I want to go to this place, I want to go here for 3 days, I want to go here for 4 days, I want to go here for 2 days, and you kind of like map out ideally what it looks like. And then you start putting dates to that, and you have a look at like what makes the most sense geographically and in terms of like flight cost and flight times. And then you just sort of like piece them all together. I feel like you start with places, you get to dates, you plan your route, and then once you kind of have that in place, you look at your flights, and then you look at your accommodation, and then you look at your activities. I feel like that's kind of like the way that we've always worked, unless obviously your activities are kind of like inherent to what you're doing. Like if you're going somewhere just to go to like a theme park, then you need 3 full days to go to that theme park, or go to 3 different theme parks or whatever. That you have to keep that in mind, because you need travel days either end so that you're not cutting off any of those days. So I think like that's kind of where you have to start. And if you don't actually know where you want to go, start with, well, how long can I take off? Or how long do I want to go for? Or when do I want to go? You know, if you're like, I just want to book a holiday now, and you're like, okay, let's look to whatever time, date, Christmas. I'm happy to take like 7 to 10 days off. Where am I happy to go for 7 to 10 days? Is it international? Is it domestic? Is it a cruise? Is it close by? Is it far away? Like, what are you happy to do for 7 to 10 days? And then pick the place that's on your list and then go from there, is kind of my advice on where to start when planning a holiday. And the last thing is behind the scenes of working for a designer brand, which probably sounds like it would be more glamorous than it is. Don't get me wrong, it's so cool to like watch how this mega brand works, from like how collections are designed to how they go from design into manufacturing to how they go from manufacturing into like samples and quality control and distribution, and how marketing utilize samples to like send out for press, and how the e-com team have to shoot things and display them on the website and make sure all of the products are right and they're linked and they're the right color and they have swatches and they have prices and they have, you know, inventory all sorted and that all of the orders are flowing, and like there is so much that goes into like a fashion brand, any brand really, that you just don't even think about. What I probably underestimated was like, at least in the e-commerce team, was like the amount of dev work on a constant basis that goes into these. I just always thought like you kind of might do a big deployment of like new interfaces to the website and then you just kind of like let it tick. But like things break constantly and you're always wanting to improve things for the customer. So I think it's just like the sheer volume of what's going on and like the machines that run behind the scenes of something. Like you'd look at a website and be like, oh, it's, you know, it's this, that, it's the other. It's, you know, this is the user experience. This is the journey. This is how it looks. This is how I feel about it. This is what it looks like on mobile and for an international customer and like this, that, and the other. Like you just don't consider how many decisions go into what's on a website and what's being presented to you when it's actually so much. So much stuff. And a lot of what I'm doing in my role is also SEO, which is search engine optimization. And a lot of what I'm learning at work is kind of informing what I'm able to implement for Fiverrbox to make sure that like our awareness is being risen. And I've noticed quite a good change in that. Obviously lockdown helps because more people are searching for our products. But just overall, like it's sort of a full circle moment of like everything coming together and piecing together this understanding of like online business and how that works. But yeah, it's just, I think like the main behind the scenes is just like how many puzzle pieces there are and how many people have to build each piece. Like everybody works so closely together to get the end result out to a customer that you just wouldn't even think about the chain of command and how that all happens. So yeah, it's amazing and it's so interesting and I'm learning so much, but it's crazy. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say on that. But I feel like I have rambled on for way longer than necessary. But alas, here's another episode for you. It feels like weird. I don't feel used to this. It's been so long, to be fair. I mean, if you've enjoyed this episode, please let me know. Please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Feel free to like rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts, or I don't think you can rate things on Spotify. I don't think you can. But if you have enjoyed, thank you so much for listening or watching on whichever medium you are engaging with this, and for always listening and watching. People still listen, even though I haven't uploaded. Well, I haven't uploaded since May, but I haven't recorded by myself since the end of last year. And no promises really. This is still something I just do when inspiration strikes and when I want to, and when I feel like I want to talk to someone or want to talk about something or whatever that might be. But I did promise that I would give a Gucci reveal, a proper Gucci reveal, to those of you watching on video. Here is my baby. She's so cute. You're so cute. You're so cute. She's so cute. I love her so, so much. She's my little baby, and we love each other, and we're besties. She literally is like my best friend at this point. We hang out all the time. Is that light too bright for you, sweet? But anyway, thank you so much for watching or listening, and I hope to talk to you in an episode again soon. Bye! Do you want to say bye? Are you going to say bye? No, she's just going to lick my hand instead. Bye!